Hello everyone, welcome to my channel B&B CBS Gossip 24. At work, Finn receives a heart-stopping shock, and Electra uses willpower to determine the outcome of her romance. Brooke and Ridge pace and suffer at Forrester since Luna is still alive and says she is expecting Will's child. Brooke is happy that Taylor is aware. Ridge makes it clear that she is concerned about Steffi. After Katie claims that Bill has things under control, the conversation shifts to Ridge's tirade about Bill being to fault for everything. They all recall how relieved they were when Luna passed away, and they speculate about Finn's reaction to his daughter's survival. Ridge moans that he should be there for Steffi and their children instead of trying to win Father of the Year for Luna. When was this? Brooke Ridge bed and breakfast. Ridge says he just wants Luna gone and doesn't care whose child she is carrying as they discuss the misery of her being alive. They seem to be putting up a murder mystery with Luna. Is Electra going to cave? Will texts Electra in the design office, pleading with her to talk to him. She is across town, holding the jewelry she made for her partner, and she begins to type something in response to his text, but stops. Will considers phoning her on the other end, but ultimately chooses to leave the office. When Will enters the Forrester estate and declares he must see Electra, she is taken aback. When he apologizes throughout his speech, Electra nods. Even though she is aware that he regrets not telling her, Luna might still be carrying his child. Electra adds that although her heart is broken, she isn't prepared to give up on them either, as Will begs for another opportunity. They share a kiss. Will crew B&B? What's Luna doing right now? While eating bonbon at Bill's house, Luna carries on her insane chats with her stomach. She exclaims how wonderful the baby's grandfather, Finn, is and believes it's time to share the good news with him. Since he thinks she's dead, he will undoubtedly be shocked. Luna B&B. Luna calls for Bill, grabs a pocketbook, puts on a baseball cap, and leaves through the terrace doors. I'll go visit my dad and let him know that I'm still here. Who are the unexpected visitors to Finn? Finn is taken aback when Poppy pays him a visit in his workplace. As she casually reminds him that they have a kid together and are lifelong partners, we're certain that this is a ruse to learn more about Luna. To change the subject, Finn says he is eager for Steffi to return home, now that they don't have to worry about Luna. B&B with Finn Poppy. They discuss how Luna came to be who she is. She must have been born that way, Poppy laments. Although Finn berates her for not telling him that he had a daughter, he is relieved that Steffi is no longer terrified because of Luna's passing. Later, Luna appears at the office, wearing a hoodie and dark glasses, and peers in through the cracked door when Finn is by himself. Luna B&B. As she enters the room, Finn becomes enraged upon hearing her exclaim, "Hello, Dad." Deacon had been discreetly consulting for months, providing his reputation as a rescuer and promising to bring money, branding, and celebrity endorsements. A few had been cautious. The consistent presence had been welcomed by others. However, none anticipated that he would move so quickly or make his goals so obvious. Steffi Forrester, Liam Spencer, Hope Logan, and others were in the boardroom. It was a tense atmosphere. Liam drummed the table with his fingers. Just to be clear, Deke is currently the acting head of HFTF. His voice was piercing and disbelieving. Hope nodded, looking worn out yet determined. Indeed. For the time being. This morning, the board cast its vote. The financial auditors suggested that someone with business acumen assume temporary leadership after pointing out excessive spending and poor management. The only person having both capital and credibility was Deacon. Steffi squinted her eyes. However, he has no taste for fashion. He lacks an understanding of logistics, runway, and textile lines. He is not innovative, he is a fixer. Deacon smiled quietly as he leaned idly on the doorframe. I know enough to hire professionals I trust and to learn new things. He said with a certainty that cooled rather than warmed. And with the right resources, I'll help make HFTF stronger than ever. Hope touched her chest with her hand. However, Byron and Maurice, my designers, have already begun submitting requests and adjustments. Without creative autonomy, many are reluctant to collaborate. Instead of a partnership, they perceive this as a takeover. Deacon's grin faded. We'll adapt. We'll show them that this is a rescue effort. That until we streamline, and that we require brand coherence, financial monitoring, and discipline, we're in trouble. Steffi gave a snort. We need discipline, she said, glancing at Hope, as though this were a corporation rather than an atelier. Hope, you permitted this. Hope gave a headshake. I didn't select it. I was outvoted by the board. She turned to Deacon. You only have one chance. I will be lost forever if you destroy HFTF's soul. Deacon's gaze grew softer. I am aware of the stakes. Act 1. The initial hit. The press caught wind of it that afternoon. Paparazzi flocked to the studio entrance as headlines started to appear, including Deacon Sharp takes over HFTF, hope for the future under new management, and fashion world watches in tension. Designers made succinct remarks. Creative freedom would be threatened, models said. Byron threw down a sketchbook inside the design loft. He gave a junior associate a scowl. He ripped off his badge and stormed off, saying, I won't redesign my entire collection because some non-designer demands brand alignment jargon. Maurice appeared to be in shock. Wiping perspiration from his forehead, he said, he's asking us to revamp 5 gowns in 24 hours because they don't match his new color palette direction. On what authority? Hope rushed in. Guys, I must beg that you cooperate with him, at least for the time being. Our financial situation is precarious. I am in need of you. A few designers looked at each other. Felicia murmured to Byron, autonomy is coming to an end. Then Deacon entered with 2 stone new hires holding folders at his sides. He echoed, all right, team. We are somewhat changing the direction of HFTF. We're becoming bolder, more contemporary, and more cohesive. Color schemes, recognizable outlines, and fewer experimental departures are what I'm looking for. He went to Hope and said, we'll produce this spring line with less waste, more branding cohesion. My goal is to steer creativity towards commercial viability, not to stifle it. The designers became agitated. Later, Deacon almost ran into Steffi as he walked down the corridor. You believe you can withstand me the entire time? He whispered. She became agitated. Deke, don't try to test me. Act 2. Indistinct family boundaries. These modifications caused the Forrester Logan Spencer households to shudder. The news infuriated Liam at the Spencer mansion. Hope was sitting in their living room going over mood boards when he strode in. His voice was tense as he replied, you allowed him to take over everything. That is your baby, and he is stealing it now. Weary, Hope looked up. It's not the best. However, we will lose everything if we don't stabilize HFTF right away. Liam bent over. At my cost? He raised his phone to show emails from sponsors removing financing, raising questions about his identity. They believe this to be a power struggle. As if I didn't matter and you were weak. Hope let out a sigh. You are important. However, we must first save the foundation. Liam tightened his jaw. Don't let him take over our lives and you. At the same time, Steffi confronted Ridge at Forrester Creations. Ridge was sitting behind his desk in his office, looking distressed. You see what he's doing, Dad? I said, she said. He is infiltrating every aspect of life. HFTF, publicity, and brand expansion. Ridge reclined. He now has a foothold. We must handle it with caution. Some people adore him, and he is respected for his story of recovery. He met Steffi's glare. We'll keep an eye on him and monitor him. However, we must not be hurried. Steffi struck the desk with her fist. Hasty? He is demolishing the essence of fashion. He is assuming leadership of our family's heritage. Ridge extended his hand. Let's collect proof. Let's suggest supervision. Without starting a conflict just yet, let's put ourselves in a position to recover leadership. Act 3. Unleashed fashion chaos. The rehearsal for the runway performance the following day descended into a brawl. Catwalks were practiced by models. There was music. The dancers practiced. Overnight, though, the clothes had been altered. Soft curves gave way to bold cuts. Fabrics were less expensive and logos were bigger. Some of the gowns looked out of place. Horrified, Hope wandered in. Byron strode ahead. What is this? He pulled on a modified hemline. The design brief did not include this. Deacon showed up with his arms folded. We adjusted for the viability of the market. The changes are required. Byron's cheeks flushed. Edits? It's butchery. You've substituted branding requirements for true design. Maurice gave a headshake. We'll lodge grievances. We'll leave. With a chilly voice, the deacon raised a hand. No. You will keep your end of the bargain. I refuse to allow defectors or sabotage to stop us. Hope hurried on. No one leaves. Please. Let's have a conversation. A few designers gave up. Some scowled. Byron later approached Deacon backstage. You believe that a fashion firm can be operated using brand scans and spreadsheets? You have no regard for the craft. Deacon gritted his teeth. We can't fail because I respect you too much. And so be it if that means strict guidance. Byron gave a headshake. Then you're destroying, not helping. He strode off. Designers met that evening. They agreed that if Deacon didn't back down, they would submit their requests or resignations. Some discreetly started contacting supporters of Forrester. There was an insurrection on the rise. Act 4, the board meeting, the grand confrontation. All of the main players, Rich, Eric, Stephanie, Hope, Liam, Deacon, Steffi, and a few other board members, were present at the contentious board meeting that was convened in the Forrester boardroom. The founder and matriarch, Stephanie, sat with her cane resting on her lap. Steely, she scanned the room. We're here to deal with the situation. You have taken charge, Deacon, but there are serious worries among many in this room. Listen to them. Rich got up. We appreciate your stance, Deacon, but your adjustments are significant. Creatives have been alienated by you. You have breached the integrity of the design. Sponsors are scared of you. There must be reversals. Behind him, Steffi stood. We insist that you reinstate prior contracts, restore design autonomy, undo unauthorized edits, and confer with the original design team on all significant changes. Liam turned to face Hope. She gave him a nod to continue. Liam's voice was measured as he cleared his throat. I'm worried that public trust is being eroded by your takeover. Donors are pulling back. Sponsors are posing challenging queries. Our brand is breaking apart. Deacon stood up. I can appreciate your worries. However, reality cannot be ignored. Money was being lost via HFTF. The risk to the brand was enormous. I intervened to stabilize and save. There will be some harsh but essential steps. I want to reassure you that I will be responsible, compromise, and adapt. However, I refuse to see this house fall apart. Older and stately, Eric scowled. You are using rescue as a cover for your power. That concerns me. Stephanie's voice was clear. Slow down. The updated charter, which keeps Deacon as the head of HFTF for 90 days with some oversight, will now be put to a vote. 4 significant creative changes during this time. He must confer with a committee of board members and designers. She glanced at Deacon and said, Control goes back to the original board if he fails. Are those terms acceptable to you? Deacon gave a slow nod. I agree. There was silence. Act V, frictions and fallout. Hope confronted Deacon in a hallway following the board meeting. He appeared exhausted yet determined. You have an agreement. She let out a breath. Seldom. However, we have checks in place. She gave him a look while speaking in a firm but gentle tone. I'm leaving if you betray that. He gave a nod. I refuse to violate trust. I'll have to earn it. After a moment of hesitation, she touched his arm. Please. Please don't make me second-guess my belief. He closed his eyes for a moment, then looked her in the eye. I'll demonstrate it. Steffi cornered Rich somewhere else. They engaged in negotiations. But, Rich moaned, we lost leverage. We maintain pressure in silence. Every movement is detected by us. We remain prepared. Byron packed some of his belongings in the loft. Maurice provided a shoulder to lean on. Byron said, maybe this is our opportunity to start over. However, I adored what we were creating. Maurice gave a nod. Don't assume that this is finished. We'll be prepared to rebuild with or without him if he makes a mess of things. Act 6, Hope for Salvation, or Destruction. The strain increased as darkness descended. Sitting in his makeshift office, Deacon went over the charter of the creative committee, made notes on any modifications, and was ready to meet with Hope, the designers, and the board members shortly. He gave his IT consultant a call. I require openness, he declared. I require complete audit logs. I want a digital record of every choice I make so that I can be held responsible. Hope came by later. She was on the other side of him. This is something you're taking seriously. Deacon stood with eyes full of exhaustion. I must. He extended his hand, saying, I can't afford another betrayal of trust. We should review runway lines, repair damage, and salvage as much as possible tonight. Hope took his hand when he hesitated. All right. However, I will hold you to all of your commitments. A silhouette watched from a rooftop outside. In the hand of that dark figure, a phone sprung to life. They proceeded, a soft voice said. He acknowledged his mistake. That's part of the plan, though. Nothing is safe just yet. The papers in Deacon's office were rustled by a gentle breeze. There was still a storm coming. The silence before the next storm epilogue. The next week saw HFTF drag along. While some designers departed, others remained. Their farewell remarks were tastefully ambiguous. Was this a temporary rescue or a coup? The fashion industry was abuzz. Fashion reviewers and DWAs offered their opinions. Deacon met with Hope and a few trusted creatives at night to try to smooth ruffled feathers, revise lines, and recover what could be salvaged. He was sincere, yet trust is fragile. The bond between Liam and Hope felt shaky. Ridge and Steffi secretly plotted. Designers whispered as they watched. With auditors in the wings, the board kept a close watch. And a saber-sharpened adversary lurked in the shadows, planning to take advantage of every weakness and every choice. Because control is crucial in the world of Forrester and Spencer ambition, and someone would do anything to gain it. Chaos had been unleashed by the takeover. However, the actual conflict had only just begun. When Living Luna enters Finn's office, he freezes, and Electra rejoins Will. Lee and Luna nearly got into a fight, and Ridge accused Bill of being responsible for Luna's wrongdoings. Ridge and Brooke at Forrester Creations are in shock over Luna's survival and the chaos she is causing. Because of Luna, they are concerned about Steffi and all of her pain. Ridge doesn't believe Katie when she says that Bill has everything under control. They tell Will everything that transpired. Ridge recalls their joy when they believed Luna was dead. Brooke is curious about Finn's reaction to the news. He advises Finn to keep in mind that Steffi is the object of his allegiance. Ridge is furious about this. He fears that they will always be haunted. The only lady who can keep him up at night, according to Brooke, is her. He is unsure of how to rob Steffi of her tranquility. It's possible that she will never be able to acquire milk without worrying about being abducted. Brooke assures him that they will overcome this together. They make out. Will considers Electra as he walks around the design office. He leaves on a jog. While at Eric's, Electra peruses all of Will's texts and begs for his pardon. She considers responding, but is unable to do so and pouts. She tries to work but finds it difficult to focus. Will shows up out of nowhere. He needed to see her. Despite having seen his messages, she was unsure of how to react. He needed to see her because he couldn't stand it any longer. He feels terrible for hurting her and regrets not telling her sooner. Even though she thinks he's remorseful, Luna might still be pregnant. Will asks her for another chance since he believes in their love and doesn't blame her for departing. Her heart was broken, she claims. It felt like they were just getting started, and love is dangerous. Then this. When she isn't prepared to give up either, he feels reassured. She will adore him. Forever. They share a kiss. Luna is reading a pregnancy book while munching at Bill's. She claims that because she never had a father, the child will have a wonderful relationship with him. She considers telling Finn about her wonderful news after seeing a picture of him on her phone. She shouts for Bill while donning her sunglasses and baseball cap. Since he's not there, she says she's going to see her father and leaves. When Poppy arrives at Finn's workplace, he is taken aback. She reminds him that since they had a daughter together, they are destined to remain together forever. Steffi responds that she's having a great time in Europe when she asks after him. He longs for them. They discuss how they are no longer concerned about Luna. She is still grieving over the loss of her daughter. He reminds her that she caused the disaster. His wife was among those she was threatening. According to Poppy, her daughter was harsh and nasty from birth. It didn't have to be this way, he claims. She acknowledges that he is still grieving over Luna's passing, but she assures him that he need not bear the burden any longer. The physician shrugs. They argue over what would have happened if she had informed him that he had a daughter. All he can say is that he's glad Steffi can return home and live her life without having to worry about Luna. After Poppy departs, Luna appears wearing her most recent disguise. When she enters, Finn is so startled that he is barely able to move. "Hello, Dad," she says.